Brian, what successes would you say that President Obama has experienced since being in office?
Well, I did spend some time looking at that, and there's two things. The drone attacks, in the Middle East, I think was a plus for a variety of reasons. One, we didn't have harm to our valiant troops, and so that was a plus. Of course, finalizing the extreme amount of intelligence and manpower and all that about getting bin Laden, killing bin Laden. Of course, his predecessor did a lot of the legwork on that. But you have to give him credit; he was able to get him. But other than that, domestically and other foreign relations and all that, I really think he lacks solid leadership in both of those areas. Those are really the only two that I could come up with.
Now, since being in office, President Obama has added $5 trillion to our national debt. As a nation, we are more than $16 trillion in debt at this point. Now, President Obama has to know that regardless of how much he increases taxes on the 1%, we can never pay that money back. So why do you think he continues with this tax the rich mantra?
There's a couple of observations on that. First of all, he's got the mainstream media behind him. They don't discuss this in any length of anything. This was based on study groups, think tanks, selective polling, and he's been able to portray this as a solution to our problems, but it's not going to work. The thing about it is there's not enough money out there that the rich has to pay off this debt in any length of time. There's not enough out there. My understanding is that his amount of tax that he wants to tax the rich will only come up with about less than a month of the expenses of our government. Mm-hmm. So, how's that going to work? And not only that, but the rich are the ultra rich are always going to do what they do that they've always done. They'll be able to with their lawyers and their public accountants and all that, they'll be able to figure out a way of any tax that they're going to be subjected to, or they'll just move out of the country. So
part of the reason they're rich, right?
They're not dumb.
That's right.
They didn't get their, they know how to do it, and it just simply won't work. And it sounds good to the masses out there because the little guy think, oh, we're going to stick it to the rich, So it sounds good. It's a good soundbite.
Now, I know the Republicans also put out negative ads, but it seems that the Democrats take this stuff to a new level. I'll give you an example. Harry Reid made the claim that Mitt Romney had not paid his taxes.
Right.
He offered no proof of that, but then afterwards he said that it was up to Romney to prove that he did pay his taxes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Also, Romney at one point was accused of being a felon, and Democrats also said that he was somehow complicit in a woman's cancer death. Mm-hmm. Now, why do you think that why do you think the Democrats are successful in putting out these terrible ads? They're so blatantly false, but they seem to continue to appear on a regular basis. Why do you think that happens?
Basically for the same reason as before. First of all, they can get away with it. These are the little sound bites. It sounds good. Again, these focus groups, these think tanks and all that, it actually works in the short term because it convinces people that this is true. But what kind of interests me is that, you know, I saw that, and I'm thinking to myself, 20, 30, or 40 years ago, you would think that they could get away with it. But with this age of the internet, with fact-checking and all that stuff, a lot of these things can be debunked in just a short period of time. So I really don't see how they think they can get away with it, but they certainly do. All they have to do is convince a small portion of the population that Romney's all of these things, and that's really all they're after. They're after that vote that's going to be misled.
What else do you think Mitt Romney can and should do in order to convince voters that he would be the best choice as next president of the United States?
My first answer to that is to stay the steady course. Okay, I have started to see he is starting to change his strategy a little bit. He has to project I think he's got a lot of confidence, but he needs to get out there, and in the last week or two I've noticed a kind of a change in his demeanor. I've noticed that he's not holding back. I think he realizes that he's in the home stretch, so to speak, and now's the time to unleash a lot of the what I thought of is that he's got a notebook similar to what we have back here, maybe this big, I don't know, but just information that he has that he's just been holding back on, that he's going to use to get him over the top to win the election. And you know, he's a much smarter man than I am, trust me, but he's going to have to really convince a lot of people that he's the one to lead this country, and fortunately he's surrounded by a lot of wise people, and he will be able to discern a lot of this information, and he'll be able to ponder on it and gather this information to where he can present it in a way that people will decide to vote for him. So.
And one final question, Brian. Just give me your opinion on all the violence that's happening at our embassy in Cairo and also in Libya. Just what are your thoughts on the terrible situation that's happening over there?
Frankly, I'm surprised it hasn't happened before. These radical Islamics, I've got a ton of information on that at home. I was totally unaware of it until, you know, after 9/11. These individuals, they're hair trigger. Anything will set them off, and they're protected by a lot of the governments back there. They are well organized. The fact that the first reports were saying that it was over a film, that now we find out this film was done in July of this year, so it's been out there a long time. They're saying that the violence in Cairo may have been just because of that. Now, the individuals that were there in Cairo, they didn't have any weapons. They were quote-unquote regular people. They were just, you know, a pretty violent protest meeting, whatever, rally, whatever you want to call it. And, you know, but there was no weapons. There was nobody got killed. I think a few people got injured. Nobody got killed. But the one in Libya was definitely a well-planned-out militia event by about 50 individuals. And they had weapons that the street people just don't have. And it was retaliation for the second in command of Al-Qaeda that got killed. So it's going to happen. Unfortunately, we lost a true patriot, the ambassador, and 3 other individuals. And America should not be surprised at this. They should not be surprised. We are not out of the woods yet on this. It's extremely advisable that people learn about radical Islam and their way of life, because it's there's no we can't in our perspective of it, it's very hard to understand how they live their life. But if you get into it a little bit, at least you can start to understand some of it. It's here in America. There's a lot of people here that that are sleeper cells, so to speak, and they're coming right up the Mexico border, and they're here. If people don't believe that, just get on the web and check it out.
Another reason to get that border secured. That's vital.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Brian, thank you for your time.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay.